Welcome back! It's finally time to answer some of these Q&A questions. I've stockpiled a ton of questions from the call to action video, and now I will curse you all with the gift of knowledge. What a great gift to celebrate... Wait, 600 subscribers! That genuinely, you guys are so quick. Thank you guys so much. 600 is nuts. I mean, I've stopped writing the algorithm for the quite frankly uncalled for growth now, but that doesn't mean I'm not incredibly grateful for all of you. Thank you. That's incredible. Even the view count alone has had an incredible growth. I mean, look at the new percentage of viewers on my channel who aren't subscribed. Haha, I've become one of those channels now, but you know, this is a formula that works. You can't just not subscribe now. Anyway, let's cut to the chase and answer some questions. Basic question, where are you from? I live in New Zealand, the pair of islands just east of Australia. It's pretty awesome, and I will not be elaborating further. Why did you make your name New Apprentice? I wish I could say there was a lot of thought put into the name, but in reality, I came up with the name when one day my 12-year-old self went outside and uttered the noise, Nye. I decided I really liked the sound, and then proceeded to make a ton of characters and lore about a secret organization revolving around this one noise I made, most of which has been lost to time. But in short, the term Nye comes from 12-year-old onomatopoeia. How'd you get into Jackbox? Did someone recommend it, or was it a random thing you found? I remember hearing about this game called Quiplash that my sister would sometimes play at a church life group of hers. So in December 2019, I added it to my Steam library and saved it for a rainy day. Turns out that rainy day was a global pandemic, so we didn't have a lot to do on the weekends, so I gathered a few of my IRL friends to play online, and we enjoyed it quite a bit. Though, when Drawful 2 was being given out for free during the pandemic, we got a lot more mileage after that. Since I had nothing to do with my money due to the pandemic, I ended up buying Pack 6 shortly after, and the rest is history. What got you initially into Jackbox modding? Not even joking, that one stupid how many blanks does it take to screw in a lightbulb prompt from Jokeboat with the worst punchline starter known to man. During the pandemic, Jokeboat was a fan favorite among my friends, and I got so mad at that prompt that I wanted to see if it was anywhere in the game files that I could easily edit. Turns out it was, so I removed the punchline starter from that prompt and the day was saved. Hey Nye, massive fan. I hope you see this message and one day we collab. That would be low-key epic, I think. What the Sigma? My question is, who influences you and what impact on your life do they have? If you read this, that would be awesome source : 3. Firstly, that kinda hurt to read. Secondly, as for influences to keep me going, the obvious answer is my family, who watches my content, hi mum, and my friends. After all, they make my life worth living. But as for the people that inspire my content, I'm a massive fan of GD Colin, Jax Films, Schaeferillis Productions, and Silacork. Number 1, how and why did you start YouTube? The how is way less interesting. I don't know, I'd press the create a channel button. But the why is a lot more interesting. I first started YouTube as a Lego stop motion creator because I was really into Lego, I loved animation, particularly Michael Hickok's, and wanted to make my own. For the content I make now, that arose because I was really inspired by channels like GD Colin and Silacork, and I wanted to make similar content for Jackbox as well as modded gameplay. And when I looked around on YouTube for channels that did exactly that, I found absolutely nothing. Aside from those videos that replace all these survive the internet final round images with thirst traps, but those don't count. So I took to being the first YouTuber to make exactly what I was looking for. Number 2, how did you find the ranking system in each game like Weapons Drawn, Pole Mine, and Junktopia? Short answer, I decompile and study the code straight from the source. Long answer, there's no long answer, that's literally it. Moving on to, what's your favorite Jackbox scoring system and why? Honestly, Quicksort's pretty high up there on my list as well. I think every proximity-based scoring system Jackbox has done is really good, like Espionage, Nonsensory, and of course Quicksort. My personal favorite, however, probably goes to Blatherround. It may be a little favored towards the presenter, but I love the time-based scoring of the presenter, the big points for guessing correctly, the contribution points for making a helpful guess, and of course the My Bad is a nice little pity addition. If you didn't make video content for Jackbox, what other game would you make video content for? Good question. This could go two separate ways. I would either do gameplay and video essays for a game I used to be really passionate about, Geometry Dash, or I would take the time to do challenges and modding for a game with a lot of mod support, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated deck builders I've played, Dicey Dungeons. Favorite party game that is neither Jackbox, Mario Party, or Wii Party. I haven't actually played Wii Party yet, I'd quite like to though. Anyway, my favorite party game with these parameters would probably be the multiplayer challenge mode and Just Shapes and Beats, if that counts. If it doesn't, my next choice would probably be Ultimate Chicken Horse. What's your favorite board game? I'm quite a big fan of Sequence, and if I'm in the right mood, Articulate can be an absolute blast, but it can get really intense. Another classic I like to pull out every once in a while is Cluedo, or Clue for all you American people. Favorite puzzle game? Honestly, I don't really play a lot of puzzle games, so I'm not entirely sure how to answer this question. I mean, the Portal games are an obvious recommendation. The only other puzzle games I have in my Steam library are Gunbrick Reloaded and Baba Is You. Baba Is You in particular is a fantastic game, but I am simply not intelligent enough to beat it. What's your favorite VeggieTales episode? Favorite classic? Probably Rack Shack and Benny. Favorite Larry Boy? Probably Rumourweed. Favorite post-90s episode? It's been a while, but I'd guess Minnesota Cuke in the Search for Samson's Hairbrush. What is your favorite music genre? Honestly, I don't listen to a lot of music anymore, but I really enjoy brass bands, really intense jazz, brass funk, and some instrumental Japanese stuff from time to time. But in general, if it has a brass instrument and it doesn't have many vocals, I'll probably enjoy it. What is your favorite type of tree? Also, if a tree falls in a forest when no one is around, what sound does it make? Willow trees are really atmospheric in my opinion. As for the sound thing, little known fact, trees are really shy but also really musical, so when no one is around they start singing opera music. It's true, but don't look it up though. Which Jackbox game is your favorite and which one are you thinking of modding next? My favorite Jackbox game of all time would probably have to be Champed Up. Best drawing tools, best color palette, hype as hell sound design, and easily the funniest and most fair drawing game the company has made. As for what I'm modding next, that's something I really like to gatekeep, because A, I have a fear of people stealing my ideas, B, it may change depending on whether or not the Jackbox University asks me for a freelance job, and C, it'll spoil my next video. Just keep an eye open, that's all I'll say. Least favorite Jackbox game? From an engagement perspective, and my least favorite objectively speaking, Lice Water. It's the epitome of boring as hell. From a frustration perspective, Civic Doodle. It looks and sounds terrible, the writing is bad, and the gameplay suffers from a lack of shock value and prevention of playing incorrectly. Though there is only one Jackbox game that I will actively sit out of every time, and subjectively speaking is by far my least favorite, but I'll get to that. What are your favorite Jackbox games from each party pack? Drawful, Quiplash XL, Quiplash 2, Fibbage 3, Patently Stupid, Trivia Murder Party 2, Champed Up, Job Job, Fibbage 4, and Dodo Re Mi. I know, not the most unique lineup, but a few packs have 2 or more absolute bangers in the same pack, and it can be really hard to choose sometimes. Favorite Jackbox host? The Wheel of Enormous Proportions. He's such an engaging personality, with a charismatic and, quite frankly, aggressively narcissistic tendencies, and having such a childlike sort of wonder in him sells him so much for me. Also, he's the closest thing in the Jackbox universe to a canonical religious figure. That's just awesome. Who's your favorite You Don't Know Jack host? Now, I know a lot of you guys come to my channel for my You Don't Know Jack content, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care much for anything You Don't Know Jack related before You Don't Know Jack 2011, so it kind of has to be Cookie Masterson by default. Oh, and speaking of You Don't Know Jack, number 1, which soundtrack from You Don't Know Jack 2011 or 2015, 2018 is the best? You Don't Know Jack Full Stream has a much more consistent overall style and quality, so I'm going with Full Stream. Number 2, if you were to rank the Answering the Question themes from 2011, 2015, and 2018, what would be your top 3 songs? Number 1 would be 2011's Question Music 5, the piano music is just so hype. Number 2 would be Full Stream's Question Music 4, love the trumpets and adore the key change. Finally, at number 3 we have Full Stream's Question Music 2. If there's anything Andy Poland has gotten good at over the years, it's the organ, and I'm also a sucker for key changes. Number 3, what do you think the future of You Don't Know Jack will look like? What do you want to see? Honestly, I don't know if there really is a future for You Don't Know Jack. Think about it. You Don't Know Jack is a really American pop culture trivia game, and a pretty snarky, sometimes raunchy one at that. And with the current direction Jackbox is going, with localizing their games into more languages for added diversity and accessibility, and the writing of their games becoming more streamlined and filtered, apart from the naughty pack of course, we don't know for sure, but I don't know if another You Don't Know Jack game can really thrive with Jackbox's current ambitions. Many of the American aspects would have to be compromised, and so would the cruder aspects, and for a game that's mostly about the creative writing with these qualities, I think You Don't Know Jack is going to become a thing of the past. It would be nice if we were proven wrong on this, but I think our best bet from now on is the fan games. Which, don't get me wrong, some of them are really cool from a design standpoint, but at the end of the day, they're fan games. Whoa, way to bum you out, sorry about that. But this is a topic I would love to dive further into. Let me know if you want to hear more from me on this topic. Anyways, next question. Number 1, what's your favorite You Don't Know Jack gimmick question type? This or that, and it's not even close. Number 2, if Jackbox were to go back and completely update any one party pack, with all 5 games within getting updated or reworked as needed, which pack in its entirety would you most want to see get an update? Now this is a really interesting question. Personally, I'd love to see Pack 4 get reworked for a couple reasons. Firstly, Survive the Internet, Monster Seeking Monster, and Civic Doodle all suffer from requiring a burnaround for people to truly understand how to play the games quote-unquote correctly. Secondly, this pack just really fell off over time. I'd go in depth, but there are further questions for that. Number 3, what genre or genres of video game do you most enjoy? Aside from Jackbox, I play a lot of rhythm games, bullet hells, and rage games. Some of my favorites blend into each other, like Just Shapes and Beats and Cuphead for example. Do you have an Ouya and or Roku and played You Don't Know Jack on it? If so, could you make a video series of gameplays if you can? Does anyone even still own one of those? That's like ancient technology, and the Ouya only sold 200,000 units. As for Ouya You Don't Know Jack content, most of it is already in You Don't Know Jack 2015, and if you want to play the remaining episodes, might I suggest this content mod by Tere-Zander. I'll probably link it somewhere in the description or something. I'd love to see your Venn diagram of chicken, bin chicken, and cockatoo. Also, are those your chickens? Please introduce me. No idea how to approach the Venn diagram, sorry, but I will introduce you to the chickens. It's been a while since I've seen the family chickens in person, but I'll throw in a couple pictures. One is named Shelby, and the other is named Ecclesia. We don't know which one is which, and the family isn't great with the names either, which is also evidenced by the fact that they had different names since I asked about this last year. So yeah, those are the chickens. Nice to meet you. Apple juice or orange juice? Apple juice 100%. There's a reason why apples are ranked as the #1 fruit, and orange juice is just kinda cliche at this point as well. Have you ever played or heard of Deep Rock Galactic? Nope, not until you mentioned it. What's your opinion on the indie animation scene? Murder Drones, The Amazing Digital Circus, BFDI, etc. Honestly, I don't care for a lot of it. I quite like a lot of stuff Gooseworks puts out, so naturally I like The Amazing Digital Circus. I watch a lot of behind the scenes stuff for it as well via Kevin Timmer's YouTube channel, and I have a lot of respect for Glitch Studios as a company despite me not caring a lot for their content. I had to search out what BFDI was, sorry, and I despise the writing and the community of Hella for Boss and Has Been Hotel, which is a shame because the animation on those shows is genuinely gorgeous, I'll give it that. Number 1, thoughts on Terraria. If there's any game I really want to like, it's Terraria, but I've tried a few times to get into it with different friend groups and single player attempts, and I just cannot get into it. I wish I could, but it just doesn't click with me. Number 2, what editing software do you use and how did you learn? I used to use HitFilm, but more recently I've been using Adobe Premiere Pro, and I learnt by simply messing around and finding out. And I will not be contributing to the copy pasta, sorry. Will you be making a video similar to a Hypnotorious video dissecting the scoring system of other Jackbox games? In particular, I would love a video about weapons drawn. That is absolutely my plan. I'm trying to work on one now as a matter of fact. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find very much time recently to record footage and additional audio because I've got a lot of personal things at the moment, but rest assured it will happen. And speaking of making a video on weapons drawn, I've already made a video on weapons drawn explaining the scoring system in a YouTube short, so yeah, check that out. What Jackbox game do you find the worst designed? In terms of pure laziness, it's easily WordSpud. I'm pretty sure the entire game was made in less than 2 weeks. In terms of completely spitting in the face of a good concept, it's Civic Doodle. It's surprising how I found this channel because of the Fibbage 4 episode you made, and I want to know what went through your mind to be like, oh yeah, I want to make a silly Fibbage 4 episode. Well, before Pack 9 released, I knew that a special episode system was going to be implemented due to an official blog post earlier in the year. It was easily the thing I was most excited for in Pack 9. When it came out, the system was there for default skeletons, but special episodes didn't come out until the patch, so I made it my mission to be the first recorded person to make a fully customized Fibbage 4 episode. I didn't give it a narrative because A, there weren't any reference episodes for me to study, and B, writing a Fibbage 4 episode with a narrative is really hard to do while also making it fit the zany spirit of Fibbage question writing standards. What's your most unpopular opinion about Jackbox? Alright, I can almost guarantee you've never heard this one before. Faking It is easily the most anxiety-inducing social deduction game, the only Jackbox game I will actively set out of every time, and subjectively speaking my least favorite Jackbox game. The faker is decided 5 times per game, giving you that many chances to be the faker. Some prompts can be super unfair for the faker and outright uncomfortable, and the faker has virtually no opportunity to defend themselves if they make a wrong response because it is the only Jackbox social deduction game to reveal everyone's responses to the question before the question itself is revealed to everyone. To illustrate, in Push the Button, when the correct prompt is being read out, the aliens have, on average, around 4 seconds to come up with the start of a defense before their response is out in the open. Whereas in Fakin' It, everyone answers publicly for all to see, and the faker is just being silently judged for 7 whole seconds before they can even attempt to make a defense. It's so mean, especially if it's one of those uncomfortable prompts. Worst Jackbox gaming experience in my opinion. What do you think about Survive the Internet? Look, I know a lot of people love this game, but personally it's super hit or miss for me. For starters, the pacing could be improved, and making the final round the only round to have a points multiplier, let alone a double multiplier, can make the other rounds fairly trivial a lot of the time. Secondly, due to the gimmick of getting another player's response to take out of context, everyone you're playing with has to realize that they need to keep those first responses in a round open-ended, otherwise you're just screwing people over, and that's no fun for anyone. And most importantly, due to the nature of the game, a lot of the time it can be really hard to write for this game. In this game, there's a really fine line between writing a response that just isn't funny and writing something so blatantly offensive that streaming it would get you in trouble. You have to really cater your group for this one. That being said, it's probably my best candidate for a sequel game, because it's a game that has a massive cult following, but also has a lot of glaring issues that could be addressed in a sequel. Besides, adding the new moderation tools to survive the internet is just necessary at this point. What do you think of Monster Seeking Monster? I find the gameplay loop fairly enjoyable for what it is. There isn't really anything like it anywhere else, but it does drag on a bit, and the monster roster isn't exactly the most balanced thing in the world. I mean, the vampire monster is functionally the exact same as the mummy, except with zero downsides. It could have some sequel potential though with an updated monster roster. What Jackbox games seem the most unfair to you, besides Hypnotorious? Monster Seeking Monster fits pretty well in this category for the aforementioned reason. The RNG nature of earwax can make some sessions of this game pretty frustrating. The obvious answer here is the wheel of enormous proportions, but the difference there is that wheel doesn't try to hide how unfair it is. It's literally a free alternative to gambling, and it actually makes these aspects fun. Number 1, what would your dream Jackbox sequel be? I would love to see a sequel to Bomb Corp. There's a lot of opportunity to add the team mode that was scrapped from the original game, different bomb types and extra rules, and of course a brand new, even crazier narrative. Seriously, Bomb Corp's narrative is underrated. It gives off improv comedy vibes and hands down is some of the funniest, most unhinged things Jackbox has written. Number 2, what are your thoughts and expectations on the Jackbox Naughty Pack? I do already have a few expectations for Jackbox Naughty Pack because us data miners have been able to find a few fragments of crucial information about the game like 6 months ago. I respect the company, so I won't tell you what we found. But unrelated to this, I'm really curious as to whether the more raunchy host dialogue would be returning to Jackbox early You Don't Know Jack style. That's the thing I'm most excited about. That and of course the sheer amount of penises we'll be drawing. If you were given the option between using an Ouija board to sacrifice your loved ones to a demon that turns them into a marketable plushie, or getting a single grape that is slightly burnt, which would you choose, and if you can, why? It might just be the grammar, but I don't see a single reality in which the first option is ever more desirable than just a single burnt grape. I also don't condone the use of Luigi boards. If you were designing your own Jackbox game, what would it be like? Optionally, what's your ideal party pack? I'd quite like to see a social game where the objective is to write answers or submit responses and guess who submitted what. I'd also like to see another presentation game, maybe a team-based one? I don't know, this isn't really something I think about all too often. As for the ideal party pack, I'm not going to be specific, but my ideal party pack would involve a writing game, a drawing game where your own art is rewarded, a presentation game, a social game, deduction optional, and an experimental co-op game. If you could only have 5 individual Jackbox games and couldn't play the rest, which 5 would they be? The Jackbox Party Pack 7. Well, almost. It would be Pack 7 except replace Devils with Fibbage 4 and replace Blatherround with Trivia Murder Party 2. It's not necessarily my top 5 favorite Jackbox games, but it scratches most of the itches. If you could make any major changes towards a Hypnotorious sequel, would you make changes to anything besides the scoring system? Yes. Less obscure category trios and roles, dynamic jar capacity, final scoreboard, much better tutorial, extra host dialogue, ability to make private predictions about outliers and groups early on, and something else that I will not reveal for reasons that do not concern you, wink wink nudge nudge. Would you so happen to teach us how to make a custom You Don't Know Jack full stream episode? And something I've always wanted to ask is if you've ever thought of doing a modding tutorial. This is something that a few people have wanted, but like Justin Dog mentioned, it's not something that I would know the legality of. Would I be able to show off the raw source code for the game engine? Absolutely not. But would I be able to show off raw content code that's based off a JSON format with the only defining traits being a few keywords that direct the engine? Now that's where the line starts to blur. If I show you my own customized content in this format with the specific JSON keywords, would that be copyright infringement even though it's technically my own code? What about EveryDaysic, the custom coding language designed for loading tasks and episodes and the devil's in the details? Again, it's my own code, more clearly so, but would this still infringe copyright? If I were to do tutorials, I would probably do them in a text-based format to be the least prone to copyright issues, and just because it's easier. But I'm not sure if I would be motivated to do them, and it's something that I would like to get clarity from by asking an official member of Jackbox staff, if I can even do that. And that's all the questions I have for you today. I hope that this helps you all get to know me a little more, and thank you all for submitting questions. Sorry that this video took a while to come out. There's been some stuff behind the scenes that's been taking away recording time, but hopefully soon I can get back to my regularly scheduled whatever pretty soon. Again, thank you so much for over 600 subscribers. That's genuinely nuts. And if you want to join that train, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see more from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side. See ya.